So here we are in a Jupyter notebook. Here we have the name as inheritance. So let's hide it out. So toggle toolbar, I have hidden it out just to create a wider space. Now, this is inheritance. We have all the definitions that you need to. You can just pause out the screen and read it out. Inheritance is the capability of one class to derive or inherit the properties from another class. The benefits of the inheritance are all of these. Just go ahead, read it out, pause the screen. Scrapped, I have scrapped all this definition for you out from World Wide Web, and let's jump into the coding part. So I'm just gonna pause out for 5 seconds and you can just pause it out and read it out. Okay, so I hope that you have read it off. Now let's jump into the syntax part. If you could recall in the presentation video, we have looked into class. We have parent class, body of the parent class. Parent class and base class are the same thing. It's up to you, whichever you want to call. Class, derived class, base class. Okay, what is derived class? Derived class is also known as the child class, and inside of this you have to write the parent class from which it is getting inherited. So a lot of definitions have been just cooked off. Let's cook something out of it. So let's create our first code. So let's create class person, and inside of this I'm gonna write my init block. Inside of init block, what all I'm having: self, again s should be small, f name, let's write with l name. Okay. Then self dot, let's write first name is equal to f name, and self dot last name is equal to l name. So this should be working just fine. Now let's create out a definition over here: def print name. Print name, a reference to itself, self, and let's print out print. If you want to use f string, then it's totally fine, but right now I don't think f string is much necessary, as this is just an example. So I'm just going to print out self first name and then self last name. That's done. So let's create out and check the objects for this class. So let's create an object for this class person. Class person is not defined. Okay, it will be a capital P. Okay, again the same thing. In it is missing two requirement: f name and l name. So let's mention out f name. So let's mention out show Hado, and let's mention Paul. So I have Shohado Paul. So successfully I have created an object for the class person. Now if you want to print out the name dot print underscore name. That's a function. Okay, so it is displaying Shohado Paul. Let me delete out the spaces over here. Yeah, Shohado Paul. It has been successfully displayed it off. So that was everything that we have looked before inheritance. Now let's apply inheritance into this. Let's create a new class. Let's create a class student, and let's inherit it. Over here I have to write person. If you want to see the syntax, here we have the derived class, that is a child class, and inside of this base class or parent class. So student, then person with a capital P. So class student person, and then let's pass it out. Just for now I'm not writing anything, but it has been inherited. So if I create an object for this class, again over here you have to mention out the two things. So let's write Shaundarya, and let's write Paul. So I'm taking quite some complex name, Shaundarya Paul. Why? Because I am creating over here, we have nothing, but it is getting inherited from the parent class. So whatever in it you have written in the parent class, you have to mention that. So I have successfully created an as student first name Saundarya, second name Paul. Now let's call the print name. So here we are at Saundarya Paul. So what exactly is happening over here? We have a parent class. From the parent class, previously you have seen that how to create an object, call values from it, create methods from it. Now I have created one more class which is getting inherited from the class person. So whenever I create an object for the class student, then whatever methods that we are having in person, so I have the method person name, it will be called off right away. So that's how helpful inheritance can be. You can take all the functionalities that we have in a particular class and transfer it to another class, along with adding out new things of its own. So let's change it out a bit. Let's look into how to add new things. So let's say def, let's say just print, or let's say greet. Let's give us a reference to itself, and let's print good morning. Let's run it off. Let's create the same thing over here. Now I can call out print name. That is a method of the parent class, and then let's call out greet. That is a method of the child class. So that's how easily we can create out. Let's look into one more example 2. Example 2. In example 2, let's look into the problem that we solved in our presentation. So class animal, we had somewhere name is def speak, I guess, and then self, a reference to itself, and then let's print animal speaking. Okay, that is one of the classes. Let's create a child class in the same block. Class dog, and let's give this inherited to from animal, and let's def bark, bark, a reference to itself, and let's print out dog barking. And now let's create a equals to animal. Okay, I'm creating two objects, and d equals to dog. Again, a with a capital A, successfully created. If I call a dot speak, it will just say animal speaking. But if I try to call a dot bark, it's not quite possible. Okay, double quotes, it's not quite possible because animal object, the class animal does not have anything related to bark. The class dog has, and animal is not inherited from any other class which is having method bark in it. So let's try out with b. If I try to call b dot bark, name b is not defined. Okay, sorry, d. So d dot bark, dog barking. So successfully we have created an object and call out the method inside this. Now from d, from an object of class dog, let's try to call out a method of class animal. So let's call d dot speak. So all of both of these have been successfully called out. That's how useful your inheritance can be. That's it for this video. In our next video, we are going to look into the different types of inheritance that we have in Python. So let's jump into our next video.